Okay, today I'll be predicting the Baltimore Ravens record prediction. So looking at their roster is pretty similar to last year. On offense, they continue to look really good. They brought in Derrick Henry. He should be a game changer immediately. Their offensive line seems decent, and even their wide receivers are serviceable, I guess. Their defense, I'm definitely worried about the hole that Patrick Queen left when he went to the Steelers. Trent Simpson didn't have a ton of playing time last year. Their secondary still looks really good with guys like Hamilton, Humphrey. But I am also slightly worried about their pass rush. If Matabike doesn't repeat what he did last season, they might not be as good at pass rushing, but they should still be decent at least. But you have your first game, the Chiefs versus the Ravens. Chiefs, similar to the Ravens, they rematch of the AFC Championship. Chiefs pretty much kept the same roster as well. This is going to be a tight game regardless. You can flip a coin for this game, but I think Chiefs with home field advantage, I think they're going to win this. Week 2 versus the Raiders. Raiders, obviously, to me, is a trap game. Their defense is really good, but I think the Ravens' offense with their unique option offense, I do think that Lamar Jackson can solve that Raiders defense, and Raiders offense isn't anything impressive, so I'm going to take the Ravens here. Then you have week 3 versus the Cowboys. Cowboys pretty much also stay status quo. They're a good team, but they do struggle to beat better players. And I think the Ravens are a really good team that can give a run for their money. I think Derrick Henry will plow straight over that Dallas defense, so I'm giving the Ravens here. In week 4 versus the Bills, another very tough team. The Ravens have a really tough schedule. Bills, Josh Allen obviously is a freak. But they are getting a bunch of new pieces, so I do think that's going to affect the Bills early on. I think the Ravens having more of a similar team is going to give them the win. Then you have week 5 versus the Bengals. I'm not sure if week 5 is Joe Burrow is out of his slump yet, but the Bengals, I think they also lost a couple of pieces like Tyler Boyd, and I'm not sure if T. Higgins will be traded yet. But Bengals whole team doesn't is not just it's just not as talented as the Ravens. Their defense, starting to get a little bit old and wasn't like superb last season. And I Matabiki, I still think he can wreak havoc for Joe Burrow, so I'm taking the Ravens here. Then you have Week 6 versus Commanders. Commanders signed a bunch of old guys, but really their team is not good. Ravens defense is going to cause problems for Jaden Daniels, and Washington defense is butter, so I'm going to take the Ravens. Then you have them versus the Buccaneers. Buccaneers, their offense can be scary. Baker Mayfield can put up a good stats at times, but I think the Ravens defense can handle it. And the Ravens offense should go straight through that Buccaneers defense, which really didn't improve that much. So I'm going to take the Ravens here. Then you have them versus the Browns, another divisional game. The Browns also play the Ravens really tough. Not sure how Nick Chubb is gonna do, but if Nick Chubb is healthy, I think he can cause problems for that Raiders defense. And that Browns defense plays really good at home, so I'm gonna take the Browns here. Then you have Week 9 versus Broncos. Broncos probably one of the worst teams, and Ravens have home field advantage, so I'm taking the Ravens here. Then you have Week 10 versus the Bengals again. Pretty much what I said about the Bengals earlier. They did lose a lot of pieces, but I think Joe Burrow starts to heat up around Week 10, and I'm gonna take the upset. I think Joe Burrow is gonna cause too much problems for the Ravens, so I'm taking the Bengals here. Then you have Week 11 versus the Steelers. Steelers, another team that plays the Ravens really tough. Like I think they Steelers swept the Ravens last year. It's gonna be a low-scoring game. They both have very good defensives, but I think Ravens having a mini buy-in after coming off a loss. I'm going to take the Ravens here. Then Week 12 versus the Chargers. Chargers, they do have Jim Harbaugh, but I think that John Harbaugh knows how to stop Jim Harbaugh. And that Ravens are just a better team. The Chargers really don't have that much on defense, so I'm taking the Ravens here. Then you have Week 13 against the Eagles. I like the Eagles, but late last year they really didn't do good at all. And Eagles, I think their defense is starting to get a little bit old, especially with Fletcher Cox retiring and Darius Slay getting up in ages. Um, Ravens, I think they match up well versus the Eagles, so I'm taking the Ravens here. Then you have them versus the Giants. Giants not a good team at all. Daniel Jones ain't gonna have a good day, especially with Ravens coming off a bye. I'm taking the Ravens here. Then you have Week 16 versus the Steelers are not going to let the Ravens sweep them at all. Mike Tomlin is just not going to allow that to happen, so I'm taking the Steelers. Then Week 17 versus the Houston, a rematch of the divisional game. Houston, I think they are probably one of the most improved team. They brought in Stephon Diggs. Their defense should continue improving with D'Amico Ryans as head coach. Ravens, it's going to be a good game. Lamar Jackson is going to test that Texans defense, but I just don't think the um, Ravens defense is good enough to stop CJ Stroud. I don't trust the Ravens wide receiver when it comes to a shootout, so I'm taking the Texans here. Then you have a Week 18 game versus the Browns. I similar to the Ravens not the Steelers not getting swept by the Ravens. I don't think the Ravens will get swept by the Browns either. So I'm going to take the Ravens here. So in the end, after Ravens going 12 and 5, 3-3 in the division, 6-2 at home, and 6-3 away.